the hour having arrived and a quorum definitely being present, I call to order the meeting of Norwood Trails Advisory Committee, December 10th, 2019. Thank you all for coming. The time, Mr. Secretary, is 7:08. Okay. The time of beginning, commencement. We are going to have a kind of a truncated meeting tonight. We do have a number of items on the agenda. We're going to roll right into those. Before I do, moving right along, we'll we'll take attendance by way of a roll call.
Dick Babel.
You can move down here.
Gary Miller.
John Freya.
There's just
Sue Bartlett.
Lee Leach.
Brian Palmetier.
Fran Rush.
Craig Austin.
Marguerite Prop.
Ellie McConaughey.
And I'm Joe Greeley. Greetings,
out
all
of the
man.
woodwork,
This is a full packed house here.
Coming out of the woodwork.
We also have
Raise
members
your
of the media tonight with us. Kevin and Matt are here. Any questions, chime in, suggestions are always welcome. We're here in Norwood Town Hall in room 24, the Thornton FinCom room. Plenty, we've got 10 empty chairs. We always welcome guests and esteemed contributors to our efforts, so thank you all for coming. Item number 2 on our agenda, review and approval of prior meeting minutes.
And that's some more copy of the meeting minutes of November 12th are before you. If you want to take a few minutes or postpone the
motion to
The motion.
approve as written.
okay, thank you.
We did.
Second.
Is this the same
Okay.
one that was in the email
Jim's in
today?
your
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
PDF file, right? Yeah.
If there's any typos or anything, just let me know. I can.
Okay, one very small correction. Adams Farm doesn't have an apostrophe
Okay, thank you.
in B.
See? Punctuation is
It's right
important.
there.
Well, it can be.
Okay. Okay, any other, we've got a motion and seconded and amendment, so I'll ask the motioner and the seconder if they'll accept that amendment. Any further discussion on that before we do?
Who was the seconder?
I second it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting the minutes of November, what's the date on that meeting?
12th.
November 12th, thank you. As amended, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous. And that too. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lee Leach.
Thank you.
We do have a visitor on the agenda, Pat Green from the Norwood Women's Community Committee. However, she emailed me today, and due to time conflict, she wasn't able to join us tonight. So we're continuing to save a place for her. I did tell her the 2 dates that we're going to meet in January, so we're going to try to circle back and ask Pat and anybody else from the committee to join us. I also mentioned to her that we're presenting on February 6th at the Sustainability Series, so another opportunity.
And what was she going to meet about?
We're not quite sure.
So she requested.
She requested a,
Support, I imagine.
I'm not sure which way that support is going to go. Maybe bilaterally. Bi-directional. I'm not really sure. Pat contacted me and said that the Women's Community Committee, it's not easy to say, I'm just going to say WCC, is very interested in joining us and collaborating on projects, but I'm not quite sure what that means. So she is coming at some point, and we'll find out.
I've worked with them on many projects, so I
Okay.
know what they do provide.
Okay, great. So would it be support to us or support to them or
It would be
both?
support to us.
We're working together, yeah.
Yeah.
Working, hope so. Yeah.
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 What they provide is what they get out of that. Their store they provide the community.
Mhm.
They take the funds raised out of that and they look at particular projects. And they look for those projects and they say, this is worthwhile us getting involved. And they also get people, soliciting them for help. So it is actually nice, the fact that they've come and said, we would like to be part of this project. So I would think that's where we
Yeah.
will probably end up with some
Okay.
help financially.
Sure. And coming from an organization as historied and well-recognized as the committee would certainly be good,
Yep.
both ways. So, great, thanks, Sharon. Completed walks, just very briefly, on Veterans Day, November 11th. We did walk, several of us got together, we walked from the Willett School to Father Max, and with a detour up to the top of the landfill. I am determined to come up with a better name than the landfill, for the landfill.
Well, several of us walked from the Bulge all the way to the center town.
So it's a
To
different name.
the parade in the morning.
I have it up on screen.
Norwood's Peak, it's the highest point in the town, huh?
Landfill on.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
So,
Landfill.
Lee, do you want to talk about that?
Millennial
walk?
Park, yeah.
I have it up on
Okay.
screen.
No.
So Sue in her.
Oh, that's where your hike was?
In her amazing
Yeah.
technical genius has put the map up on the screen. The red dots throughout the trail are us stopping along the way.
Correct.
Do you have a little transmitter in your shoe, or is this a smartphone thing?
Watch.
And so we did the loop, as you can see. We started in bottom left at the Willett School on George Willett Parkway. Yellow is a moderate pace. We sped up on the flat straightaways with the green.
Oh, yeah.
We stopped at a couple of elbows along the way. We took our time going up to the landfill. You can see the hook going up to the top of the landfill. We pretty much did a straight shot right up the hill. It was a gray, cloudy day that day. It wasn't overly scenic, but we could still see the Gillette and Moose Hill from the top of the landfill. Saw a couple of other things at the top, a couple of roadkill and various other things up there.
Is the tree still blocking by the Savage Center, that trail up there? You know, it's right over the trail.
Sort of.
You could still get around it. Though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the tree's
Yep.
still there, though.
Yeah.
The tree is still there.
Yeah.
That whole, I mean, we're the only ones that have been on most of that because that's an easement where you're talking about. I mean,
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's not an easement that people maintain. We would definitely need to go out there in the spring or ask somebody else to go out there before then with a chainsaw and take that tree down, put it out of its misery truly.
Yeah.
But you can see we did that red dot at the Winter Street. We stopped and looked both ways at the crosswalk. We went along, so this basically is, and we'll talk about it later on tonight, but the Germany Brook path. So this is number 5 for us. We've already got 4 different trails mapped and brochured, if that's a word.
Right.
So this is number 5. That elbow at the top where we did a kind of we went out a bit and then turned around and came back again, that area right there is actually blocked by a stream. But there's several points along the way there that with a small bridge, fairly small bridge or some technical know-how, we could make this a much longer trail. In fact, we could connect in several places in with Westwood's conservation area.
Oh, with the mansion.
With the mansion, with a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a little imagination, we could certainly make it out to Manhattan Street and across in behind that way. So, and then the loop on the right-hand side, you can see that's the far right is where we touch base with the Savage Center and the basketball courts behind the Savage. And then we went straight in. There is a sewer easement that connects up with the rest of the sewer line, but it goes straight into the woods out to the, there's wetlands in it's now kind of Mother Nature has taken over. It used to be a pond, a skatable pond, but now it's been taken over by Mom. And there's all cat nine tails and various other things in there. So it's actually a pretty neat spot.
It's pretty.
So that's the part that on our map here is shown in
That's right.
blue?
Yeah.
In blue, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So this was on November 11th. We Sue mapped to this, and we'll talk about the map as it has since evolved with Craig and Fran's help. But that was our walk on November 11th.
Just a point of clarification on the landfill. After you make that little dogleg up, it's all open. There's no marked trails that we were following up there. It's all open up there, so what you see is just where we ended up going.
What's the status of the solar panels?
There's no solar up there.
No,
So
I know,
there's-
but what's the status of it?
No.
Only when it's sunny, there's solar up there. So there's, they did put it out for bid, it made progress. The company that was the number one bidder, since either declined or we declined them, but we're back in the pre-bid stage.
Okay.
So it's gotta go back out again to bid. People still think it's a good idea, and I do see that moving forward, but it's taking a step backwards. But one other point before then, but right at the hook at the top of the landfill there, just, I guess it would be southwest of that, but if you continued on with the line that we walked towards the, I guess that was the peak, but we did get a commitment from the town that at some point when we actually turn this into a trail, we would the town would put a kind of an observation deck
Oh, nice.
there.
Fantastic.
So just beyond, as you can see, the hook, and we stopped and turned around, but just a little bit further down beyond that, where that stopping point is.
Because I
That'd be very
understood
nice.
that-
You mentioned,
Hang on, just a
I
sec.
understood at one point that access to the landfill from the trail was restricted by the town, that they didn't want people getting up there. So it's great that they're.
He seems to be
Yeah.
embracing it,
We've
Ryan.
done it, right?
Yeah. It would be, I'm not sure if this is what you had heard, but if they had put up solar panels, then 2/3 of the peak would be covered with the panels, so that area would be off limits.
Okay.
Certainly, yeah.
So oddly enough, the landfill is 2/3 managed by the town and 1/3 managed by the rec department.
Yes.
So, thank you. So the rec department, so the solar panels would have only gone on to the 2/3, not the third. So the observation deck would be on the rec department portion. And it's still a great idea, and it's still got a great view, and it would overlook like southwest towards Moose Hill, and I swear you can see Noon Hill and Medfield from there too, so. Did you have another one, Marguerite? Is
I
that,
just was concerned about that because I've been chased out of places before.
okay. We've all been chased out of
Yeah,
various
right.
places before. But, one thing word of caution though, there are definitely deer in that neck of the woods, literally. And with deer come coyote.
Yes.
I've been up there before and I've seen 4 or 5 coyote at once.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, small pack. So just be advised. Brian?
well, my question was partly about the solar panels, trying to figure out where on the map they would be in terms of, like, when I go to Millennium Park, which itself was built on a landfill, it has almost like a, I imagine it would look a little like a snail from a top, because it's got a loop around and then there's a higher up loop,
Yep.
and I didn't know if that's what you had in mind. It looks like there's actually part of the contour there that might work for a trail around
Yeah.
the bottom.
That wouldn't be bad. That's actually for those of us who have been there, but there's like a rim at the bottom, like 2/3 of the way down the hill, all the way around it. And it was built to
Erosion.
catch up erosion.
erosion protection,
But
so-
also to catch any downstream water flowing down, I guess,
Yeah.
if that's English.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no,
So-
I've been up there. It's quite, at least, maybe I was up there when I wasn't supposed to be either, but it was, I noticed there's lots of ruts and stuff when you're climbing and everything, and a lot of places where you can't be sure that when you put your foot down, that it's gonna be grass or if it's gonna be a dip, so,
Yeah, yep.
I don't know if you guys experienced the same thing.
Caution is advised. And if you look at the landfill as like a face of a clock.
Okay.
From like 4 o'clock, the 4 o'clock arm, it's kind of a gravel path that comes up from the DPW area. So that's a straight shot up the hill. It's not, I wouldn't call it ADA accessible by any stretch. It is a pretty steep
That's from runoff.
elevation. What?
It's a runoff.
Yeah, okay. So so the 2/3 would be, if you drew a line, yeah, like right around there, like, yeah. So 2/3 would be that from that point north.
So on the part where you walked up, that's where the solar panels would be? And this
Rough-
part is the recreation part?
Roughly, the,
Okay.
This is
the bottom left, yeah, third or so, yeah. That's the rec department for some unknown reason.
And
Ellie?
and that's the part where they'd want us to
That's where.
confine our trail?
Yes, yep. That was, all that is based on the previous configuration, so that may or may not change, but. Ellie?
Well, I'm just wondering, in terms of the observation area, how pleasant is it to be at the landfill?
It's beautiful.
Have you been there?
In terms of smell, and I mean, I've
No
been to
smell.
the
No.
There's no
dump.
smell.
Don't judge it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quite capped.
Even the cemetery is beautiful, especially in the winter.
Yeah, yep,
But your view is
But it's
unbelievable.
pleasant to be up there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it is very pleasant. I'm not quite sure yet, there's a lot of, as I said, deer, coyote, and resulting ticks. So I wouldn't quite,
Right, yeah.
I wouldn't quite invite anybody to lay a picnic top down on the ground.
You can see all the fireworks.
Unless they
Yeah.
invite you.
Yeah, run around and see
That's
the
right.
fireworks, yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't tell anybody that.
So
Just-
that,
just
Nobody's listening today, right?
And it's a great sunset spot too, also.
it is a good spot. So that's Willet to Father Max, also known as the Germany Brook Trail. So Germany Brook, if you kind of widen that view just a little bit, Sue. So Germany Brook, the left-hand spine basically that goes, from like 12 o'clock to 8 o'clock or so on the photo, that parallels Germany Brook. And Germany Brook starts in Westwood and works its way all the way down to Ellis Pond. So, more to follow on that map. We also, several of us went to we also participated on November 16th at the Ellis Pond area cleanup, also known as a work party. Ellie, do you want to
It
give
was
us?
fun, it was really a fun thing to do.
Okay, who was,
A few of us showed up and
What
did
did-
some cleanup around the pond there.
Okay.
There a lot of camaraderie and a lot of getting it done. It looked really good, I thought.
okay.
What was the litter that you found?
What do you think, bottles?
Bottles?
But there wasn't a lot of litter.
Yeah.
It was mostly brush and, growth that needed to be moved. It wasn't mainly litter.
That is a nice spot, and I don't know if that, I guess I'll open it up, but would you consider that a wheelchair friendly? It's definitely stroller friendly, but wheelchair friendly? Do you
I
think?
think it's pretty hard.
Yeah, I don't recall there being any steps across the dam. Was there one?
No.
Yeah.
There's that little incline, I think, just over there.
Right, so, yeah, you do have
Second
just a
spillway.
little bit of incline over the spillway, down and up, but
Yeah.
that's definitely manageable. I don't know what the legal guidelines for wheelchairs, but
Yeah.
yeah, you have to park at the parking area and then go across the dam,
Mhm. Yep. Yep.
or approach it from the other side, the Cleveland School side.
A lot of the trails in town that's where we want to be is ADA accessible. A lot of some of the trails, I guess I'll say, some of the trails are ADA friendly but not ADA compliant. So we're not quite there yet. I have seen people out on walkers on various trails, which is pretty, trails meaning like Hawes Brook, and I haven't seen, not at Ellis Pond, but I've seen a few, at least on a couple of occasions, somebody with a walker walking around Hawes Brook, like right beyond the swimming pool. More to follow at some other date, but that was the cleanup was done in conjunction with the Conservation Commission. So I wanted to thank Kelly and her husband and Lee and who else was it?
Lee was there?
Yep, Lee and a couple, two or three of the folks from the Conservation Commission and
Right, that
Couple of-
actually live on the
a
pond.
couple of the neighbors, the
Yeah.
abutters, so
Yeah.
it was good. And then moving right into, so anything else, we will have more, it was good for us, not only is it the right thing to do, but also to get a flavor of what those work parties should entail and what to do and what to look out for, et cetera. There's a lot of just in that small area, there's a lot of invasive species that Lee basically let me alone, and I went after some vines that I just kind of got out my frustration on the vines for about half an hour or so. So the next item on the agenda, the trail mapping. We do, our amazing trail mapping subcommittee has worked, continues to work their magic again. I did distribute their latest workmanship. So Craig and Fran, you want to tell us what you've been up to?
Looks good printed, although, looks like it's a little cut off.
Well, this is just a
Those are
home
the-
printer.
Oh, I know. Well, it's a combination of things.
Do you want to, Brian, could you pass that one down?
Oh, sure.
But it's a good-
So,
I mean, as far as the brochure, still looking for some verbiage on the description of the trail.
Mhm.
Really don't want to use landfill as
Right.
the word for climbing up to the dome.
It's a good story, you used to.
Yeah.
I know.
The municipal
It doesn't
dome.
sound the municipal
Recycling center?
Just looking for some jazzy description. I can send it around if someone has any, or you can add
Landfill's not
feedback.
bad.
Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Well, people do think smell when you
Yeah.
hear
Yeah.
landfill.
We're missing a comma.
The fact that it's covered,
Okay,
you
you
know.
can tell me where I'm missing.
I think if we focus on the Germany Brook Trail moniker, then it eliminates the
Yeah.
the whole landfill thing.
Germany Brook,
Yeah.
Germany Brook Trail Peak.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Perfect.
Oh, that's good.
It's also the highest point in
Very.
town. The landfill.
I have to-
It is, yeah.
Craig's working the map. And I think it looks good.
Yeah, no, this looks great. Everybody keep going.
Adjusted.
So,
This is
Oh, so you
highly
expand-
rough draft.
so, yep.
Oh,
That was
so,
an attempt to do an overall Germany Brook trail with an inset.
Oh,
so he
okay.
extended it down to Ellis Pond on
Oh, I see.
this old, he scaled
Oh,
out.
okay.
He didn't, no, he didn't send this one around.
I didn't see it.
I just-
Okay,
yeah.
We were just talking about extending the trail from the Willett down to the Ellis, kind of paralleling the brook
The Brock, yeah.
Oh,
on the
and
west
back.
over.
Westover Parkway.
Parkway.
Yeah.
yeah.
And we were trying to figure out how to fit all that on one map, maybe make it two maps if it's digital, make an inset that zooms in closer on the, maybe the Savage Center area where you have options to do a loop.
Oh, like you did there?
Yeah,
Yep.
well, it's all Craig.
Cut
Craig's a map
back,
man.
cut back on the westwood side,
Cut back on the what?
the
Sorry.
westwood side,
Yeah.
then you could probably do that, yeah.
Do you really want that loop at the top in the condition that it's in now?
Well, that's a
For an
question
adventure
everybody-
hiker,
Yeah.
it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I like
I
that,
mean, I was there
but,
last Saturday with my sister and the dogs,
yeah,
and we had fun trying to not get wet.
yeah.
You know, trying to find the rocks or the logs to step across, and I don't know.
But maybe that could be work in the spring too, to clear that up by the pond, the old pond.
You're talking the Savage end?
Yeah, that end.
Yeah, yep,
The little pond, because that is a beautiful little area there.
Up here.
yeah.
Yes. And then over here, you have to cross a little bit of muddy.
Yeah, it's kind of sketchy now, yeah.
Yeah. We,
It's okay in the summer, but
Yeah.
yeah.
yep, we did, back last year or whenever that was, we put that town-wide map together. We had identified this as either 2 or 3 different trails. The one was the closest to Father Max and the Savage Center. So that's certainly the little bulb at the end there, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So that little kind of knob at the end there could certainly be carved out or treated some different way. But in the bottom left, to Fran and Craig's point, is in the bottom left, there's certainly another half mile, at least a third of a mile down to the Ellis Pond from
Oh, yeah.
the
I bet
Willett.
it's a half mile anyway.
Except it's not really a trail, it's
You
walking
have to walk
along
on
the road.
Westover
Yet,
Parkway, yeah.
yet.
At least for
Yeah,
now.
Yep.
But-
So
But-
S-
But
so
we
Can you
Sue's-
walk through the parkway?
Sue's got it up on the map
Not
there.
really,
There's
not
not, yeah.
really. Yeah.
But Mark had
There's so
told me
many
that
there.
he'd love to put a trail there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
But I mean, it's a
does
nice
speak to-
rewarding end, I mean, we got there and the swans were in the pond, it was really
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah.
But,
Al Getz has been talking about that whole Westover Parkway area for years too, so Jerry?
No,
It's-
that's
I'm
for you.
just looking at this map here,
Oh,
and
no.
thinking about the previous maps we did. Is there,
Some spelling errors.
you know, you want
Oh,
to
you're
connect,
asking yours?
on the
Yeah.
top part, you want to connect this towards
Polar.
the mansion, the Polaroid, you know, the Polaroid property over there. On the bottom part, actually, if you continue it on, you're gonna be coming right in to the Coakley and the, you know, the Coakley area. So
Yeah.
at some point, if you had it at the trail's head, and you could have, you know, maybe some sort of indication that if you traveled, you know, 1/4 mile, you will pick up such and such. If you go another third of a mile up here, you'll pick up such and such, if you could just, so if you almost would be looking at this, all the maps together, and you can
Yeah.
see how they can tie in together.
Yeah, we did, I think at one of the last meetings, we were kind of describing this as the old AAA triptychs, where you'd
Oh,
like
yeah, the emerald
glue
necklace.
glue
of
several of
Norwood.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
So that-
Match lines.
So Sue,
Yeah.
so Sue's got the townwide map there, so exactly what you're saying, that at the top, the left-hand side, number
18.
6 and 7,
6 and 7.
go up just a bit, Sue.
I'm trying to get the top left.
Yeah, top left, so 6 and 7 are Father Max, that's kind of spill into 18 Germany Brook.
Yeah.
So really what we're talking about tonight, we've kind of morphed 6 and 7, combined them into this map from Craig and Fran. And then 18, we didn't quite have the full dog leg to the down and left. So, but we're, you know, well on our way there. And then to your point, Jerry, literally the footnote, get it? That says, go by Jerry's house to get from number 18 to number 10, and here's how to do it. So it is truly a connect the dots.
Yeah,
And you
because they're not that far off from each other, if
Right,
you really wanted to.
right, yeah,
gotta figure out how to get past the tracks to get into.
yeah, that's,
Well, should we be creating a wish list for the, if the town will help us?
yeah, that,
You know, even that little bridge right by that little pond by Father Max, it won't take much to do it, but they'll allow us to connect to the
Yep.
Polaroid property.
Bridges get really tricky though, when you're trying to get them through the permitting process.
Yeah, but it's just a little one,
Yeah,
it's just a
just
flesh
a
wound.
little one,
So then-
6 feet.
Just a little bit.
No, I mean, it's probably 6 or 8 feet long
So-
at the max
So one of the things that we wanted, that's on the agenda later on, is creating a winter
project.
agenda, or a winter project list. So we should be able to not only create that list, but also prioritize it. If you think of, you know, just the map that's in front of us, the Germany Brook map, and the areas that are kind of below, underwater, essentially, the stretch, I think we've all been on it, the stretch that goes from Winter Street to behind the landfill, and that's kind of, there's definitely some wet spots along that way. And then in the top right, up close to Father Max, there's some more wet spots, and that, somebody mentioned the tree down, you know, that's another perfect example. So what we need to do is we need to come out with a list of requests and/or targets for us to do our own work party. And then also, to prioritize those. If it's a wish list kind of thing that's gonna connect number 4 with number 7, then it's on the list, but it's not as immediate, right? So that, that's just my own opinion, but everybody's gotta vote on this. But that is one of the winter items, is to try to figure out, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because these maps, especially Craig and Fran, thank you very much. This is, you're working your way across the map, across the globe, but this is great.
No, great.
Yeah, the first 3 were unbelievable, they were really, and just, I mean, the people who saw them, that I showed them, they went, wow.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
we have done some tremendous progress with the trail mapping. Now it's the marking aspect that really, in order to complete that, our first goal, which would be the ND.
It's funny you mention that.
Funny?
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we do that, anybody else have any comments about
Just,
Germany Brook?
just,
Brian?
yeah, just a question about it. Are there any parts of this that are in any way wheelchair accessible? I'm thinking, I know some of the bigger motorized ones with the rubber wheels might make it through, but I imagine some of the ones that with the narrow bike tires
It's
wouldn't.
all
Yeah.
paved, but it's so small.
Oh, is it paved? I thought it was
paved.
gravel.
That part is.
Just
well,
one
Oh,
part.
that part's paved.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if there's a way to indicate on the map.
It's on the
Is
ha-
that
off
is that
the
what you
hat.
got there with the
The grade.
color code to show what's the paved part?
It's-
Yeah, the
Yeah,
reason,
I'm not
the reason
even
it
sure
came
it
to,
should-
yeah.
Should be marked as a trail because it's really an access road and a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the
And then
reason
there's
that,
the access road to the pool. And so, yeah, you can get there, I guess it's accessible to that point, and then you can watch some soccer games. As far as like a nice walk through the woods or ride through the woods, not really.
Yeah.
You know, everything there is pretty rugged.
Yeah. Well, what caught my eye was when it said no motorized vehicles allowed, and I figured you meant ATVs and stuff, but I thought there might be some of the motorized wheelchairs that could go on part of the gravel trail, but I didn't know if that was realistic.
Those would be, I think when we get to that next edition, if you will, or the next phase, when we start kind of describing these things as ADA accessible and compliant, a motorized wheelchair is by ADA definition allowable.
Right.
So that distinction would be ADA related versus non-ADA, like as you said, an ATV or something.
Yeah.
There are definitely people that have gone to the top of the hill with ATVs and motorbikes and stuff, so. But yeah, good point though. John?
Just a quick question, did the prior maps have the houses? Yeah.
I thought so, but
Yes.
Are they lighter because of the?
it might have
I
been
don't
later, yeah. I was thinking about that,
Yeah, 'cause-
especially this map, it's
I got my-
Yeah.
quite,
You have a book?
Seems as like
noisy.
a,
Mine's
yeah,
on my table.
distraction.
With the maps, yeah.
This was, I think, Craig's
Yeah,
first cut.
Well, plus it's a much
Okay, Robert
smaller
Kraft.
scale, and lots of things are showing up because of that.
Well, the other thing too is you've kind of,
yeah,
you've
they-
taken up,
Da-da-da.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're fairly prominent there also.
Yeah, but the pond and the open space is the more dominant.
Yes,
feature
right,
of that,
right,
yes.
whereas This is so far out,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that the development's the main feature.
yeah.
right.
As long as you have the street names.
Well, that's getting crowded out, that's.
Yeah,
this one-
that's the
this
part,
one's to a
yeah.
lesser degree, but
Yeah,
it's still
but
hard.
I think if you can eliminate the houses and just maintain the
Yeah.
street names.
We'll
it'd be
let
obvious,
the
you know.
Father Max and the Tree Street people know that their houses
Yeah.
will be eliminated.
If you're the armor,
Well,
your name-
Actually, I had feedback from people who are, living there, is they like to see where their houses are on these things.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I've had that feedback.
Oh.
Okay.
You could just make them a little.
That was the first thing I did, is I
Yeah,
looked for
play around
my,
with the contrasts and stuff
Well,
like
it is
that.
natural, that is a natural thing, because
Right.
Yeah.
years ago when Google Maps
1, 2, 3,
first
4,
came
5.
out, that was the first thing pretty much anybody did.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, look at
Try to
your
find their
house.
house.
Yep.
That's what I did.
We all try to find our house once in a while.
Yeah.
So moving right along, trail marking, or as we say, mocking.
Marking.
I knew you were gonna mock me. So trail marking,
With you.
so grabbing onto Jerry's point about the mocking, one of the other things Lee and I we cheated a little bit and we tried to figure out kind of our own little winter agenda. But one of the things we definitely wanted to try to put on the calendar, this might be a good January, February event, is some Saturday, ask the DPW if we could borrow one of their bays or do it in somebody's garage or basement or something like that. But go out and get enough lumber to make lumber and design and do as much pre-cutting as we can, so that in the springtime we can go out and drive a few, posts in the ground and come out rocking and rolling in the spring with mocking. There is a lot of, we've kind of conceptualized it, but there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and it's more mental than the mental work has to be done first, like what's the design and what do we want to accomplish and where do we want them to be, et cetera. And then the physical part just kind of logically flows from that. But one of the things that we want to definitely try to do is get, the mapping subcommittee has blown away the marking subcommittee. So.
That's why Ernie isn't
The
here.
tortoise and the hare, oh yeah. Ernie knew. But yeah, Ernie and I have had a couple of sidebar discussions as well, so.
So we have not really settled on the material going to be used or anything like that?
We haven't settled on it, and we would, just built into that timeline, we would definitely go to the Conservation Commission and the various town entities and just say, here's what we want to do, we want to use this material, or do you have any recommendations on materials? We've already had a couple, I think you have too, Lee, but had discussions with Al Getz as far as acceptable material. You know, the days of creosote and
Oh,
et cetera, those are gone, but, so there's not as much a concern, but it should be, you know, functional, usable, weather resistant, pleasing to the eye, informative, blah, blah, blah. So there is a checklist,
Cool.
you know, that's pretty, it's definitely out in the public domain that you can get on the list of best practices, so.
We had
Margaret?
some discussions earlier, a few months ago, about these trail markers and what would be the most important part, or place to put the markers that point, this trail goes this way, this trail goes that way, but also the trail markers along the way that wouldn't have to be as elaborate.
Right, right.
And those can be much simpler, like paint on a tree or something.
Yeah. Please.
So we
we're
gotta,
gonna
not
get-
everything has to be cut out of
Right.
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 metal or whatever.
Yep. Luckily, as far as we're concerned, most of our trails are pretty straight and standard and
Yeah.
simple to follow,
Yeah.
but yeah, we could, certainly, I'm sure we could go out there with the proper material to go out and blaze a few trails, literally.
The only trail system we have so far that has multiple trails is the Indine, and the rest of them are pretty
Right.
cut and dry.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Yeah,
cut and wet.
cut and wet, depending on the season, good point. Yeah, but that's,
But yeah, ending is an easy way to get
Yeah.
lost, so it's
That's
nice
what
that you definitely need them there.
yep. So that's where we are, trail marking, and that's why it's still on the agenda. That's, you know, from a winter standpoint, we talked about task, you know, maintenance priorities, so that might be number one. Number two is marking. Number three is, I had mentioned before, trying to get, identify the landowners and get access and have, be granted easements to be able to use some of these properties. Just the Germany Brook alone is managed by the school department, the DPW and the rec department, and maybe a couple of other ones, but we don't touch the cemetery, but they all kind of fall under the DPW. But there's 3 owners, basically, of that Germany Brook Trail. And then Ellis Pond is gonna be a lot more exciting, but,
I was trying to put toboggan runs and golf tees up there when we were first proposing just capping this
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
We're trying to do something with it without just leaving it as vacant.
yeah, yeah. You could definitely play
Toboggan
Frisbee,
run's a great idea.
Frisbee, what's that, Frisbee Golf?
Yeah, Frisbee golf,
Oh, yeah.
Frisbee golf would be, yeah.
Huh?
That would be easy up there because there's no trees.
Right.
You can set up a nice course.
That's a win.
Yep. Okay, great. So that's on the, on the agenda, and will continue to be. Again, when we turn the corner into January, February, one of the things Lee and I talked about was putting together the winter calendar, so the 2020 calendar.
The winter what?
Calendar.
Oh, the winter calendar, okay.
The third item, the subcommittee, we have been invited again this year to participate in the sustainability series at the library on February 6th. The invitation came with a suggestion to possibly co-present with the Walpole Trails Committee. So we think that's a great idea, and we have buy-in from the 2 gentlemen that run the Walpole Trails Committee. So in fact, we are going to meet up with them very soon and start that whole process. But
Now, this is at the Morrill Library in Norwood? Yes.
Yep, yep. But if we, anybody that wants to join in on that, I think you, Vic,
Yeah, that'd help.
you conquered that last year, and somebody else, who else was on that? There was you,
John,
Sue, who else?
John.
John, right, yep. Yep. So the three of you.
I can help out.
Yeah, okay, great, great. So again, kind of the theory is how do we collaborate primarily with Walpole, but then, getting back to the Germany Brook map, I have talked to the conservation agent in Westwood, and she would love to, they would love to have somebody create trails in Westwood because they don't have any. It has conservation land and all that area to the northwest of our border, our property line, all that area, thank you.
Is that all hail?
Sue knew that I was tripping over that, so. So
this-
right,
Oh,
Now it's more wetland.
got it.
the LaSalle one, right?
so LaSalle is the top,
Top right.
on the other side of Winter?
Yeah.
So
All you
that's-
need is a little bridge there too.
That's right. So that, if we did, that's all Westwood. But you could, if you just look at that, you could go zip right through there all the way up to Clabbertree Street.
Looks like there's an easement.
There,
across.
yeah,
Go up.
there is.
Yeah, there's,
I've gone about a half a mile down that easement into the middle of the green space there. And
yeah.
it's all flat, it's all maintained, it's.
Is that gas, electric?
Sewer easement.
Sewage or fire?
Sewer.
What kind of each-
But it's wide enough for a fire truck or
Got it.
whatever. So that whole, that little pot there
Can you go up higher to see where it comes out?
comes out,
Clabbertree.
so just between those two Clabbertree Street labels to the up and left, maybe like straight north of there, yeah, right there.
I thought there was an opening to get in by that vague conservation area thing. Between the houses there. It
Could
looked
be.
like there was an opening to get into the trail there too.
Could be, I haven't been down that street. So that's one, that's LaSalle, but then if you zip down, so there might be where we could go dive
Yeah,
into
right
that
there to
pool
the left,
there,
yeah.
and then,
Well,
Might
I
be
think it
right
was
there.
between a
Right,
couple
right,
of
That's a
those houses.
residence.
Right in between
Yeah.
the two houses.
Yeah,
would
see
be.
that circular
A
thing?
Municipal pool.
yeah, it could be,
It's not a public park.
It looked like there was an entranceway right there.
right there.
Good job.
If that's a house,
Wow.
it's kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there's
it's
a
between the
cul-de-sac and then a driveway.
yeah, it's between the property.
So that's,
Almost looks like you get it through here. too.
Yeah, I think you can get it from there also.
They have their houses named.
Is
Yeah.
that some sort of easement that long line, or is that?
that's
a
a,
That's-
brook or something?
yeah.
that's the sewer easement.
That's the sewer easement,
Yeah.
okay.
And it comes into, is that a private residence where it ends up there, the easement?
Yeah,
It takes a left, yeah,
Oh, okay, is,
up to Clapboard.
out to Clabbertree.
and, what is that, the,
That's a house, one of the last houses.
hospital? Oh, it's
In Norwood.
further up, the one on the corner there of Manhattan and Clabbertree.
So anyway, not to get lost in another town, but that's, in addition to working with Walpole, like Walpole would be first,
Yeah.
first priority, I guess, but then secondly, Westwood and who knows it.
And that would be a direct connection.
That would be good, yep. So more to follow on February 6th.
And
Yes, sir.
when is that and where is it, Joe? This,
So it would be part of the sustainability series. It starts at 6:30
that,
on
February
February
6th.
6th at the
February 6th.
Memorial Library.
which is a Thursday evening?
Which is a
Yes, it
Thursday
is.
evening.
Yes.
What would you be talking about and presenting? Just info on trails? Or
What do you think?
what is it?
What
What's
could
the
be?
subject?
Yes, trails,
Trails and.
the progress of the Norwood Trails Committee, but also collaborating with Walpole's Trails
Walpole as
Committee.
well.
Should we invite Westwood?
I can at least tell them about it, sure.
Yeah.
Not the whole town. but-
No.
Um,
I didn't mean the whole town.
What else? Under the heading of future group trail walks, I guess dates and strategies, so. Lee and I were kind of brainstorming again and.
Holidays, you guys love holidays.
Yeah. So we put together this very draft flyer.
Yeah.
Last year we did this, it was not
Oh, this isn't quiet.
overly attended last year. I think we had kind of maybe less than 15 people, I think. now that we're incredibly moving forward at an incredible speed, we do want to take another crack at this and have this event. Again, we haven't quite fished out, as they say, we haven't quite taken Endine to its limits, but we wanted to try to take advantage of this and go someplace else. So University Ave offers a lot. We want to make sure that there's a distinction. We're not going to the Boston Skating Club property. We want to try to stay on our own land for this. But this is an area, again, Sue's got her magic modem going, magic
Same
mouse.
parking lot that we
Nope,
used before? or
no,
different?
that-
Okay.
That parking lot is also private. So if you go, if we zoom in a little bit,
Down by where it says.
By the hot dog stand.
yep.
Where's
So
that?
right where it says hot dog truck. So the famous hot dog truck
Will not
spot
be there on January.
will not be
Right.
there, but that
He still has a spot.
That street,
yeah.
that street address is
Limited parking there.
that street address is 615 University Ave, is the street, is the building across the street. So we're gonna meet in lieu of the hot dog truck, we're gonna meet in that small cutout area, at 2:00. And, we will try to, we haven't asked them yet, and we don't wanna ruin the surprise, but we're gonna ask the DPW to go in and, just clear that small parking area of any snow or anything that's in there. You could probably fit maybe 5 cars in there, so it's very limited.
What about the parking lot, right next to the skating rink?
All of that is private and
Well, there's no construction there other than the building. That parking lot, if you
You're
could
talking
go to
about the
left-
parking lot in front of the building that,
Yeah, left, left.
Keep going till you hit pavement.
There.
Right there.
Oh, not there,
yeah, right there.
right there.
Yeah.
That's a wide open parking lot.
well, we'd have to ask the building's permission to use
Right.
it.
We're not, right. Anytime we go anywhere, we have to ask permission, so we can certainly ask permission.
I mean, it is
Because-
New Year's Day, so
Yep.
hopefully
Yep.
they wouldn't be
Good
a
point.
Because 5
conflicting.
cars,
Yeah,
free with the snow maybe.
yep. The other thing across the street, I forget the name of the business, but there is a.
Harvey Building.
Harvey, that's right. Yeah, right there where it says Harvey, good point. So there are several, I didn't even see that. So there are several alternatives for us to find alternate parking.
Yeah, I would say.
Companies often like to have
Makepeace.
the PR aspect of it. I know I worked for EMC, they told us to work from home because they wanted the parking lots for the marathon.
Hmm.
So for something like this, if you approach them, and just say, we're gonna have a walk, invite the employees, and that's good tie-in for them.
Mhm, sure. So we will, as part of this, try to fine tune that parking question. We know we want to meet somewhere at 2:00. Right now, the hot dog parking, the Memorial Hot Dog parking area is our destination, but subject to change. So Sue, if you just zip down, like go south of there. Yep. So that whole, excuse me, that whole area from that parking area down to where it says conservation or University of that conservation land. So there are trails, if you zoom in just a little bit, there are trails and easements and various other things that you can, without a lot, it's definitely, this is bushwhacking, it's not
For sure.
all that user-friendly, so we're gonna make sure we put out that caveat to people. I think in our draft brochure, we've said, meet at University Ave Conservation and open space areas and walk through some of Norwood's future trails. So they're not current trails, they're future trails.
Is that an actual brook there, is that? Oh, that blue. What is that?
It's a man-made,
Water feature.
water feature, good point.
Culvert.
Due to the nature of this terrain, we recommend that you leave the stroller behind, in
sure.
parentheses, sorry. This is a go in any weather walk, and you can choose between a short half-mile, I just kind of made that up, but half-mile walk or longer. So it's weather dependent.
Winter in the woods.
It's winter in the woods, so we recommend that everyone dress accordingly, so. They're a little bit better than deer trails through there, but not significantly better. I think.
But we have the golf course also to walk through too.
We would need to make sure we have access.
Have permission.
Permission
Yeah.
to get that too.
Yeah.
But that, again, under the heading of future trails, that's definitely,
Now, is that all town property in there, from the Granger
Yes.
Supply
Yep.
This is.
down to?
from the golf, yep, so
There's
that,
a lot to develop there, a lot
from
of
Granger
potential.
to the
It's
golf
very
course,
wet
it's all
in
town
parts.
owned.
This
Oh,
is
is
the
that-
light department.
Who manages?
It's all
Good,
town
Granger.
owned, town
Light
owned,
light department, light department, right?
yeah,
Light department, yeah.
yep, town. Yep, so that's all,
Now hiking that New Year's hike, do you need snowshoes? I mean, is it that kind of a?
If there's a lot of snow, you will.
can't tell you, but it's likely. It, you know, who knows? It's winter, I wish I had the Walpole. Walpole is actually having a New Year's morning walk, and I forget how they put it, but it was basically, you know, be prepared for anything, whether we have to deal with Mom Nature, and the whole idea of a New Year's walk is it's New Year's. So just get up and do grab whatever drink you want to grab, and, you know.
So we're not having like tailgate with hot chocolate or anything like that?
Well, we are,
Think about that later.
we are fine tuning the back end of that as well, so.
There's no Castle Island around there.
Trillions across the.
Trillium's right there, good point, Matt.
New Year's Day.
Matt's gonna be our guide, our post-event guide.
Yeah, I'll make sure that.
When they move in their new place?
Spring, late spring.
Yeah.
So the Trillium is not too far from there, so there'd be definitely a chance to rehydrate afterwards. That's certainly an alternative. This is, we've talked about this before, and Lee is ready to kick me under the table, but this to me is like the long-term
Long
treasure
trail.
chest, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
The town forest is what I lovingly refer to it as, but, so that flyer,
I like that, because we do not have a town forest.
we don't have
Right.
it yet,
But-
yet.
Yeah, that's closest we have to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
The caveat with this, and you can't, Sue, if you can you flip that view again, just to see the non-satellite?
Yeah.
But you can, thank you, but you can see all the streams and various other things, so Purgatory Brook dumps in here, Neponset is all the way down the bottom where it says Norwood Memorial Airport, so that's the Neponset. But there's a lot of water here, and it's all wetlands. It's frankly, it's very dangerous in the winter. So I'll say that because I didn't find out the hard way, but I was the test person that they sent out onto the ice. Right? I don't know why, but I actually, last year I went in behind Granger just to see if it was walkable, and it's not. So I'm just cautioning, don't do this, don't try this at home, kind of thing, because it is very wet. So all, 12 months a year, so.
Well, now, what part of it
Cautious.
is forested and what part of it's wetlands? Is it?
The
we
part,
define
actually, the part that we're contemplating going out is forested.
It's forested.
But within, like, it's a guided forest walk, I guess, is the way we're informally describing this. Because you could go left or you could go right and you could get into water. So, when is it? New Year's Day?
New Year's Day, but on the other hand, because it's winter, it should be, it's not, it's.
More
you're not-
terra firma?
Well, that, and you don't have the brush from the summer, leaves are out, you can see more through the forest,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and that's why.
It's a
we
lot
like
up
to
and
go-
down, so if it's icy, it'll be tough.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
wear appropriate footwear, warm clothes, hat, gloves, whatever. There are definitely, and this again goes back to our webpage, but we need to do a better job on the webpage as far as getting people prepared to go outside. I read, I don't know where it is, but I have the AMC magazine came this week, and there's an article in there about first-time hikers and winter hiking, and those are the kind of things we need to convey to people. So that when we post this, we are gonna post it onto the Norwood Facebook pages, just to try to get the word out to people, once we get these details ironed out. But certainly with those postings, we would also post caution, about dress and weather and all kinds of stuff.
Well, one of the nice things, none of our trails are very long, so you're not out there for any long period of time for the most part, unless you
Yeah.
go round
Yeah.
and round and round and round.
Yeah, this is, I don't know if you've been out there. We've been out there a few times, Fran, Craig, we've
I've
been out
been
there.
out there, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so this is definitely a beautiful, pristine, untouched, truly an untouched part of town,
Mhm.
this whole
Yeah,
trail.
when we were doing the golf course, that was the part we snuck behind the
Yes.
Yeah.
the pond and went up and in.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So
My
you-
son was collecting the golf balls
Yes, yep.
Still there.
that have been whacked up in there.
So, Marguerite?
You know, that article you're referring to in the AMC Outdoors magazine, it's, should be online, and we should be able to provide a link.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
if, you know, for first-time hikers, or first-time winter hikers.
Yeah, sure, yep, yep, yep. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if the AMC allows open access to their articles, but if they do, then great, and,
Hikers of a certain age.
yeah.
Ah. How to keep
You
hiking.
can find it.
Yeah, we'll find it. If I were to reach back here, I'd pull it out of my backpack and I would look on page, the outdoors is really good for you, whatever, I don't know what page it's on, but it's in.
But what's the-
AMC Outdoors is
The January issue, December issue?
Winter
Winter
issue.
issue.
Winter 2020. So that's, any other thoughts, comments on January 1st? We are gonna try to get as many of us as possible and preferably, excuse me, preferably carpooling. But we'll try to, this area I think requires more of a guide
Mhm.
approach than just go as you please. So, if we can kind of put our heads together and maybe get together again informally between now and then.
It's a
That sounds good.
non-trail
I just
trail.
got it.
It's a non-trail trail. There are no, other than deer trails, there are no trails out there. Hopefully the deer will help us guide the way, so. So yeah, that outdoors, AMC Outdoors is a great resource for us.
5 tips.
Yep. So, as I said, when we post the article. So what are the 5 tips up there? Who can read those?
Stay cool, keep scrolling.
Zip, yep.
Stay cool.
Bring trail caution, eat,
Okay,
eat.
sorry, can you?
Eat,
Your feet, be outdoors.
be
Protect your
outdoors.
feet, yeah, that's a biggie.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so that's New Year's Day. Other next question mark. And then let's blend other and next to the members minute. So who wants to go first with the members minute? Just for a minute.
Big
Oh,
time
that's-
constraint.
I'm not looking at you, Vin.
No, I think just for a minute, we almost need to have several things in the winter. One of them being, going through these trails and doing a wish list that will need help from the town. Another one, just a cleanup thing. And another one, exploring again. We still have to do behind the cemetery and all that. So there's a lot of things to do in the winter, and that's the
Yeah.
best time.
Yep, yep. Yeah, definitely. Take inventory. Just because it's winter doesn't mean we have to hang out on the couch for the next 3 months. As the AMC says, be outdoors.
Mhm.
Okay, good point. Jerry?
No, I think we're making great progress. Again, I think I've reiterated this a couple times. I'd like to see one project done and that being the ending, it looks like the most feasible one, get it done and with the markings and everything. And then, following, Vic's ideas, then it does make sense to take advantage of what we can do in the wintertime. My garage could be available if we wanted, so I got a 2-car garage, so we can
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
have hot chocolate on one side.
We'll be over in a half an hour.
Jerry's workshop.
And you're gonna have calendars, we can sell calendars that day or something? Trail tips?
We'll take that under advisement. That's another subcommittee waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. John?
Now is a great time to go hiking and be outside in the wintertime. A lot of people tend to try to stay indoors in the winter, but dressed appropriately. You know, all the leaves are off the trees, you can see further. You know. Less people tend to be out in the woods, so more quiet. You know, less wildlife sometimes. It's more quiet. Just a beautiful time to get out into the woods and enjoy Mother Nature. One of my favorite times to hike is in the winter. Just dressed appropriately, proper footwear is important, and plenty of water. And just remember, it does get dark really early in the woods, so get out by like
Yeah.
4 o'clock. Other than that, have fun.
Yeah, no streetlights.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks. Ellie?
So I followed up and did some research on the meditation hikes. I followed the link that you sent me and connected with Soul Space in Canton. And I went on one of their meditation walks. We met at 7:15 in the morning. It was 26 degrees, felt like 13. We walked for a while. We sat in the woods in silence, 13 degrees, for about a half hour meditating by ourselves. And then gathered up, and then it was mostly a silent walk. So it gave me some food for thought for what I'd like to do, not sit in the woods at 13 degrees for half an hour.
Vic couldn't do that. He couldn't talk to
Silence
anybody.
by,
Last night.
That part would be tough.
But, yeah, but it encourages me to use some of the training that I've had, for example, in mindfulness, so to be able to be out in nature and meditate, and so,
Okay.
yeah,
And do you think that's something that we could have a community event in the spring?
yeah, that'd be
Or
terrific.
sometime
That
next
would be great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
that's your bucket.
There you go.
That would be very good.
yeah.
And who's the, if people want to look into this in the audience, what's the name of the entity, the
Oh, it's called Soul Space in Canton.
Soul Space, S-O-U-L?
Mhm.
Okay, okay, great. So just do a little Google search. They have, that organization has held similar community events in Walpole. They've done forest meditation and various things, so.
I went to get a model for what, we could offer for free.
Yeah. Good, okay, good, thank you. Research. Oh, good, Craig?
I'm gonna take this on a natural spend as usual, urging people to look up as well as down when they're hiking and walking around town. So this past weekend, I saw a red-tailed hawk soaring in Needham. And then the next day, or that night actually, my wife heard a great horned owl from within the house. She's got good ears because I could hear nothing. Then we went to Brookside on the next day, and on the way back, we were on Moore Street, heading toward Pleasant Street, and my wife looked out the window and said, "I see a bird soaring." In fact, I think it's a bald eagle. So we pulled
Wow.
aside,
Wow.
and sure enough, the tail was unmistakable. It was a white tail, just soaring around. Just by the time, and went home, I grabbed my camera, came back, he was gone. So I have no proof. But,
Was at the Brooks, he was at the Brookside.
yeah.
Lunch.
And as we were approaching the house, a Cooper's hawk buzzed by us.
Wow.
That was all in basically a span of 24 hours.
Wow, that's cool, great.
But, yeah, look up.
Okay.
Look up.
Marguerite, thank you.
I was talking with Susan Clare, I think it was Saturday, at one of the church fairs. And she said, I really like the trails, but it would be nice if there were some benches. And I said, well, I think there are a couple of benches down in the Brook area. But I said, yeah, I think you're talking something more like Bird Park. And she said, yeah, but those benches are expensive. And I said, well, Wellington and Bird Park are pretty much memorial benches. And she said, oh, so expect that to come up again.
For sure.
Great, yeah,
That's about it.
good, thank you, thanks. It's all these little touches and people, you never know who you're gonna run into and what they're gonna say, and
This is true.
I went to a fundraiser last week and I had that same thing happen about you know, I follow you folks every meeting, and you're on NCM and reading it in the paper, and,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny, it's not funny, but I mean, it's interesting how much of an impact this has.
And people will come up to me in the supermarket and say, hey, you're on the Trails Committee, aren't you?
Well, you're famous, so
Oh, of
they
course.
will.
I mean,
Fran?
Just reiterating, winter's a great time to, invigorating time to hike. Usually when I go out, just something short on a Saturday morning, I'll try to take somebody new with me, who's never been on a trail, get their feedback, take their dogs with us. Yeah, it's fun. It's just encourages, there's no mosquitoes, there's.
That's the nice thing about winter.
There's still ticks out there.
No ticks.
Okay, good, thanks.
That's about it.
Brian?
I've been resisting the temptation to say how we need to share our vision in 2020, but, you know, there's that. Our 2020 vision.
Good
Oh,
point.
Motion to adjourn.
But I was thinking a winter thing. I don't know how much we've connected yet with the Historical Society. I know you guys did the presentation and stuff. But, you know, if there's those times when you're stuck indoors, you know, that, you know, are we coordinating with someone? Like when we're talking about trail markers and things like that, to the extent that, you know, that if there's something historic about it or something that we can, you know, link. Like if we're going to do trail markers with those, what do you call them, Q codes? QR codes?
Q-scan, yeah,
Where you
QR
can-
codes.
Where you're out there with your smartphone, for those of you that have smartphones, I still have my flip phone, but, you know, that if you've got a marker that has a QR code on it and something specific about the area, you can find it right there, you know, pull it up. So I don't know to what extent we're already trying to get that, but when we're thinking about the trail markers, think about that historic aspect we can add to it.
Sure.
If we can.
Yeah, good point. Good, thank you. Lee?
What I would bring up is in January, this coming January, on Saturday the 25th, the AMC is having their annual summit in Norwood.
Oh,
Really?
That was
That's all-
yesterday.
No,
Gosh,
it's their annual meeting. They've
Yeah.
had, what,
It
4 or
seems like it
5
was just
years
not
now?
that
At the, it's at the Four Points Sheraton, and you
Oh, is it in
can go online. They have a lot of seminars available to their members and the public. It's not restricted, you don't have to be a member. I went last year, I
Oh, look
enjoyed
at
it
that.
immensely. It's very short money for what you get out of it. If you can take advantage of registering for the seminars, typically are 50 minutes, so there's 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Does include lunch, which would, you know, that's half of the
Yeah, it's a good deal.
cost of it. It's a good deal.
Trail mix.
Yeah.
No, it's at the Sheraton, at the Four Points Sheraton. It's a big spread.
Well, I guess for our listeners out there, it's what, outdoors.org/annual summit 20.
Yeah, and
The
there's a
registration.
link on their homepage
Yeah.
too, so I am definitely going. I think at least one other member of the committee's decided to go, and
I'll go if I'm here.
so just throw that out.
It's definitely worthwhile, and there are hundreds of people that go there from all up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity to network and bounce ideas off other people from other communities. Their group spans from Maine to DC area, so.
That's amazing.
yeah,
Right
it's
here in
the-
Norwood.
Right here in Norwood, right.
From all over the country. They land in Norwood. There's a reason they're here,
Right.
right?
They heard about our
Sue?
committee.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Lee. And what's the date on that again?
Again, that's
January
January
25th.
25th. It's the fourth Saturday, last Saturday.
Okay,
It's an all-day event.
highly recommended.
Yeah, thank you.
Sue?
I really don't, I mean, everyone's talking about nature and all beautiful things. I'm gonna just fall back on the accounting aspect for just 1 second on that, but, just a reminder that we're just getting through, starting to talk about the budget for FY '21. And, in the FY '20 budget, as you recall, the Trails Committee has $4,000 an account for the town that Tony has put, recommended through the planning board to give to trails, and we're halfway through the fiscal year now, so you might want to be thinking about
We haven't used it.
about that money and the fact that, if you use it, you might get it again next year, kind of thing, But just to throw that out there as a reminder.
Good, thank you.
Good, good.
Very
good.
Yes, Chair?
To Sue's point, I think that's a great, reminder, and maybe that's something when we will get Mr. Pastakowski to,
If
sit
it
down.
shows up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, we have talked to, between trail kiosks and marketers and, you name it, we could go right through that $4,000 when we
Yeah.
definitely, to Sue's point, we definitely want to use it and it's available.
And we need it, not just use
And
it.
we
Right.
need it, right, we're not using it for the sake of
Yeah.
using it, but.
No, I know we
Yeah.
need it, I'm just saying, like, we're halfway through the fiscal year now,
Yep.
so this is, general fund money which goes away at the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
It's
No.
not carried through.
So we should order the
No, it-
wood and all that, and when we.
Yeah, we have to
It's
spec it out,
encumbered.
and, yeah, we definitely have to cover it.
Jerry's
Um,
storage area.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna very quickly, I'll just spend 2 minutes talking about this, but I had some spare time over the weekend, and I went, if people are familiar with, the Ellis Nursing Home down on Ellis Ave, right? So there is a field in there, Ellis Field. And are there any extra pictures floating around? I don't know how many, yeah, I don't
You guys
know.
need to,
I don't know how
I can
many.
just look on and,
Yeah, okay.
Jerry will share with
Um,
What do you got?
But,
What are you looking at?
but,
well, those are coming around with maps.
the blue one.
so there is an area, so if you picture where Ellis Field is in the Ellis Nursing Home,
Yep.
right? On Route 1, right at the corner of Ellis, we've all seen cars parked there, and those are the people who work over in the nursery. So that is actually that parking area is the beginning of an easement. And the easement goes parallel to the bottom half, essentially, of Planting Field Brook. Planting Field Brook starts in Westwood. It's the brook that comes down, if you remember going through Forbes, like the front lawn, basically, of the Forbes property, as you're on Upland, looking up the hill towards the estate on the right-hand side. Planting Field Brook comes down and it passes underneath Upland. Well, it keeps going underground, but it pops out. One of the pictures there is the pipe, the conduit that it comes down into the flatlands. It's, I don't know, it's probably a 4-foot wide, open mouth.
Oh, this? Is that what you're thinking?
Yes, that,
pipe?
yep, yep.
I can see that.
So this area, and frankly, I didn't even realize how much land was here. Masha Mata was here a couple of weeks ago, maybe, but she takes her, not to ruin her private walking area, but she's the one who brought this up in the first place. But she goes over there quite a bit, and she definitely would like to see this kind of added to our inventory. Sue's got it up at this number 1 Ellis Field area. Frankly, when I added this to the map a year and a half ago, I really had no idea what I was talking about. I'll be the I'm not ashamed to say that. I knew it was common, it was town-owned land, but I didn't know really what was there at all. But as it turns out, you can see from some of these pictures, there is.
So right,
Ellis Gardens
yeah,
Playground.
okay.
Yep, Ellis Gardens Playground,
Much
and
further north.
so
There you go.
right where Bach Toyota, and I also passed out this, this
Okay,
map.
all right,
Yeah.
got it. I
Right.
know where you mean now.
So if you think of it, it's almost directly across Route 1 from the animal shelter and that light substation, right? So it would be challenging to get from A to B without going back up to the intersection and crossing, taking your life in your hands.
There's a walkway right underneath, a pipe.
There is a pipe, I won't call it a walkway, but there might be. I haven't-
For wildlife?
No, it was
for,
If there,
escape.
if there were, all right, so anyway, I promise just to keep this a minute, but, so I also passed out this map, just to give you a little bit more of a flavor as to where this area is.
Yeah.
But looking at the map, looking at Sue's map there, where the Ellis Nursing Home is at 12 o'clock,
Right.
and that, whatever that says, I don't know, even know what that one just below it to the right says, but,
Camp Rama.
yeah, I don't know what that is, but,
Oh, you don't, okay.
so that,
that doesn't exist.
so that whole area, and then you can see on the left-hand side, like at 9 o'clock, where it says Planting Field Brook.
Yeah.
So that's where the brook actually comes out, and that's that picture of the pipe coming out. But it goes, you can't see it, if you cross 1A, like straight left of that, where the 1A dot is, that's
Yeah.
Planting Field Brook, and it passes underneath this whole neighborhood, and it pops out and
Subterranean.
subterranean, so,
And it merges with Purgatory.
And all you need
On
is
the
a little
spring.
bridge.
and all you need, right, exactly, but
It's
that,
all over the field.
but that whole,
4,000.
Comes over Route 1A. huh?
but about 2/3, and again, 2/3 seems to be the magic ratio here, but about 2/3 of all that green space is town-owned, right? And that's what this map is I'm trying to convey here, is that not all of this land is town-owned, where it's Bach Toyota. I think I said Bach Honda, but it's actually Bach Toyota first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bach, one of the Bachs owns about 1/3 of that green space, and it's kind of a funky, it's not a funky shape, it's like triangular. But there's
So what you have on yellow here is the town part?
the yellow,
Yeah,
yes, yep, yellow,
that's what it says down
Yep.
there.
town-owned.
Yeah,
So that, I'm not, I did cross, at its shallowest point, it was about 4 feet up my bean boots this weekend.
Mhm.
But it's the deepest point, it's at least like 3 or 4 feet deep, further downstream. But there are definitely points along the way that we could build a bridge,
Mhm.
or take, I wouldn't advise this, but you could walk across it, or in the winter, it may or may not freeze, but don't try it. Don't try this at home.
Well, the field freezes in the winter pretty
Yeah,
nicely.
could be.
Yeah.
So this whole area,
That's when we went out.
and
Yeah,
at
that's
its
right.
most narrow, it's like 30, maybe 20 to 30 feet wide. But the water is deep. But it's, at its most shallow point, it's maybe 50 to 60 feet wide. But it's definitely, either way, it's definitely traversable.
Mhm.
You guys were out on the wetlands before.
Yeah.
You ventured out on the other
Yeah,
side.
and
more
they
than
have, in the bottom part of it, close to the Tabak, there's like a hill, right, where
Yeah,
it says
so-
EVH accessories,
Yeah, right
where the E is.
Right in
There's like a
there.
little forest there.
A little bit of
Yeah,
upland.
it's pretty cool
I
there.
did see that. I didn't get out that far, but I did
Yeah,
see that.
and in the winter, it's a great place, because it's all iced over, it's a wide open place there.
Yep.
So that little bit of upland bit needs to be defined relative to these
Yes.
property lines.
Yes.
Yeah,
How do you get in there? Where's the?
where you cross the brook, the Planting Field Brook.
You
Okay,
bushwhacking.
where do you start?
Well, you start at basically by the Ellis Nursing Home.
Ellis
Okay.
Field.
There's a parking area there,
Got it.
and you can go a couple different ways from there. It's a fairly good little hike.
It's
The
good.
hills down here.
Is this,
Sue, can you zoom in just a little bit? And on the left where it says Ellis Gardens?
There's the parking lot right up in the top
Yep.
by
Where
Codman
top right,
Road.
where it says Ellis Ave.
No, not that, that's Ellis.
Where it says Ellis Ave.
No,
right
no,
there.
No, no, no,
just
where it says
below
Codman
Codman
Road,
Road, right in
Codman
there.
Road.
Oh,
There's
that's
the
that's for the
parking.
playground, but that's where the paths are.
No, the paths go through the playground, there's two paths
The
there.
part where they walk the dog is right up there.
Oh, geez.
So Sue, can you flip that,
No, no, no.
flip the view there?
You can access either way.
So
Yeah,
if you zoom in just a little bit, so there is a pond there, but the Planting Field Brook runs right through the middle of this, and then it goes out onto Route 1. So bottom left where it says Planting Field Brook, so that's the trail, like the trail parallels.
it's right back of the houses.
Yep, it goes to right where that says Planting Field Brook, I can never say that. Right there is where that really shallow part of the brook is. But this whole area, again, I'm not, I don't want us to get distracted, to Jerry's point about, let's try to bite off a little bit at a time. But there are so many of these little nooks and crannies, and thanks to, she's not here for me to thank her, but she is coming next month. But Marcia has definitely highlighted this as a little gem that's kind of off, literally off the beaten path. You can see from some of those pictures there, the town has maintained the easement pretty well. In fact, they've done a much better job. If Mark Ryan were here, I'd thank he and his crew for doing a much better job recently than like last summer and spring. Literally, the grass was like shoulder high, but they've since cut a swath right through the middle of the easement, which is great.
Would that be a better New Year's walk?
I don't think so. There's really nothing there yet.
It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's really cold.
Once you cross the brook.
Right? So I'm just, food for thought.
Yeah.
I'm not,
But
this,
I think your point is that we are aware of this property.
Yeah.
In terms of.
It'll be a nice hike.
it's on the map. It's number 4. Once we kind of can figure out the who owns what part. Some of this is conservation land, I think. Some of it, again, I think we're running into the same thing, that it's probably conservation, town, and rec department, right? If you go back up, Sue, to the field, where the Ellis field is. So I went out, I couldn't get through left, basically, if you think of left field from that diamond,
Yeah.
you couldn't get through it in the summertime. But last weekend, I went straight out left field. I was truly outstanding in my field.
Yeah.
Or left outstanding, one of the other. But I went straight out left field, through the woods, took a left somewhere along the line, and I ended up where it says planning field pro.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's a trail there, actually.
there's definitely a trail, and it would be great if you think of people dropping their kids off for practices, or certainly neighborhoods. That round field at the top on the right-hand side, it's not even a field, it's just basically a cut meadow behind the nursing home.
That's, if you could go up just a little bit, Sue, to the right, you see where it says Ellis Ave?
Yeah.
There's a parking area there,
Yep.
Yeah.
and then from there's trails that go all the way down to that area, and that is the area that we had proposed years ago to be the dog park.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna reintroduce that idea.
It certainly could be.
Because you have
again.
a couple trails going down from that Ellis Ave area, and they go through the woods, and you really can't see them, but they're pretty.
Yeah. Yep. The whole idea of a dog park, I didn't hear where the location was, but dog park would be great, and this would certainly be a good solution for it, but if you figure, okay, well, is it a trail, or is it a conservation area, or is it
Yeah.
an open space, is it a dog park?
That is, I think, is recreation, and whether
Yeah.
you get from it right by home plate, if you cut, there's actually an area that goes right over, what is it?
So from the parking area,
The
Planning
brook.
field, planning field, correct.
Planning field book, yeah.
Yep.
And in the future, is there sidewalks on that side of Route 1 up to the traffic light?
No.
If
No.
we ever do,
No,
Connect
no,
to,
no.
There's sidewalks on neither side.
No.
yeah.
So, but anyway, so
Okay.
I'm sorry for taking longer than my own minute,
That
but,
was cleared when they built
That was a big minute.
it's like a
Yeah,
whole nother
right.
agenda item. That's great.
so just wrapping up, we've got New Year's Day, 2:00, University Ave, more detail to follow. Number 1, we've got a winter list of stuff. We've got somebody's garage bay and a couple of projects there. We've got priority, a to-dos list and prioritization of that. Thanks to Craig and Fran for your number 5 map.
Yeah.
Number, number 4, numbers 1 through 4 are already posted to the webpage.
I have
So
3.
thank you.
Still take a little while.
Yep, so
What do you have?
keep working your magic, we just gotta keep,
that
we
one of the
just have to
typos
catch
you
up
found?
with you.
I
Oh,
gave
she already
you-
passed it down?
I
Okay.
passed it over. I
Any-
don't know who ended up with it.
Yeah, that's right, I didn't want to
Anything?
double
There's
team
a
them
couple
if you already found that one.
We've
found
got,
something?
we've got 2
Yeah, I
meetings.
gave it up, I
Yeah,
passed it over.
he passed
Oh, yeah.
the one he passed
Next
down with
meeting.
the typos.
Yep, we've got 2 meetings coming up. We've got January, I don't have,
14th and the
14th
28th.
and
14,
28th.
28, thank you, right there, thanks. 14, 28 at 7 PM.
And then quickly after the 28th is the library presentation.
Library presentation, but between before the 28th is the AMC at the
25th.
summit on the
25th,
20th, yeah, 25th. So nobody should be sitting on their couch, basically. We got a lot of stuff, a lot of fun stuff. The thing, I've said this before, one really good thing about this committee is it's, you know, there's energy, all of you people make this a really enjoyable committee to be on. Thank you. There's a lot to do. We basically went from 0 to 60 in a year and a half. And I thank you all for
That's good.
your excitement and your thoughts and suggestions and your technology and whatever else you can bring to the table. But it's all good stuff, so thank you. Unless anybody has anything else, a motion to adjourn? Anyone?
So
Second, so.
First, second, third. All those in favor, all those opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous.